Welcome to the Wisconsin Vegetable Gardener Extra Podcast, a 10-minute show for the gardener on the go. I'm your host, Joey Baird, and alongside is my wife and co-host.
Hi, Baird.
This show is dedicated to the home gardener who wants to grow more food or has never grown at all and wants to learn. This program is brought to you by DollarSeed.com for your flowers, vegetables, and herbs. All organic seeds, all only $1 a pack. DollarSeed.com. By WillowSpringSoap.com, handmade soaps using the cold kettle process while using traditional methods. WillowSpringSoap.com.
And by ManureTea.com, authentic haven-bred, 100% natural, organic manure tea for your vegetables, flowers, and herbs. ManureTea.com, always free shipping.
Homegrown tomatoes. That's what we're going to talk about today. Homegrown tomatoes. And we're going to talk about some of the ways that you can make your crop this year be the best that you've ever had. Now, many of you have not planted the tomatoes in the garden yet. If you're farther south, some of you may have. Most of us are just now starting the seeds inside. So this is a perfect opportunity to talk about how to make these tomato plants produce and grow the best that you've ever had before.
We're getting information from Bob Webster. Bob Webster is a master gardener. He has greenhouses and nurseries in San Antonio, Texas, and he has provided these tips. And if you Google him or search on YouTube, you can find him talking about the tomatoes and more information.
He's got several seminars that people have videotaped and put on the internet of his talk. So let's talk about the two types of tomatoes that you are going to grow, regardless of where you're at.
So there's indeterminate/vine tomatoes. Well, these are the plants that will grow and put fruit on until it gets too cold and die. So if you live say you live in Hawaii where it stays warm year round, you might have some vine plants that have been growing year after year. Then there's determinate, which means that they get to a certain point and they just put on fruit and then they stop. And that's the difference between indeterminate and determinate tomatoes. Other things to keep in mind is you always want to grow tomatoes in cages or trellises to get the plant off the ground because it'll produce 2 times more fruit that way. Also, you want to plant more than one type of tomato. Give yourself a variety. Plant determinate as well as indeterminate, cherry, grape.
And this is if you have the space available. And the reason why you want to do this and plant multiple varieties, we're planting, I think, between 20 and 25 varieties here at the garden this year, is because some tomatoes will do better than others based on the conditions that they're planted in. Some are more heat tolerant. Some are more tolerant if the ground's wetter, if it's cooler, if it's hotter. So you have a variety. So you're not putting basically all your eggs in one basket and planting this one variety of tomatoes because that's you like the big red tomatoes. It's not heat tolerant and they all die or they get some kind of disease. Some plants are better able to rid off diseases as well as when you companion plant with other plants. But you want to have a variety of plants to work with, so you always have some production.
So the first thing you want to do is decide where you're going to plant your tomatoes. You're going to place 2 handfuls of Epsom salt, just plain old Epsom salt. You can buy it from your local drugstore or wherever. So put 2 handles where you're going to put that. And then you want to do that about a month ahead of time.
So if you're going to have one raised bed or one particular area of the garden that you're going to plant tomatoes, you can kind of plan it out now. And, you don't have to dig a hole or mix it in or anything. Just simply 2 handfuls on top of the soil. And over that period prior to getting the plants or the transplants in the ground, the water and it's going to naturally soak into the soil.
So the second thing you want to do is you want to find rock phosphate. You can simply find that at your local independent garden center.
It's not that expensive. It's rock phosphate. I think, again, a 5-pound bag was about $10 at our local home garden center. So, and here's something that you can, split the cost with other family members or neighbors if you're going to go that route as well. So you want to get that, and it's not that expensive, and based on how many tomato plants you're planting, 1 bag should be sufficient. Now, if you're like us that plant many, many tomatoes, 2, maybe 3 bags would be more.
1 bag was enough for us.
Right, but we're going to put in more tomatoes this year than we ever had.
So what you want to do is you want to dig the hole. You want to place a handful of rock phosphate in the bottom of the hole, but you do not want to mix it in the soil. Once you place the rock phosphate in the hole, just plant your tomato on top. Rock phosphate as you normally would plant tomatoes. You can also, to help prevent early blight, which is the yellowing of the lower leaves of your plants.
We've all experienced it.
Yes. And to prevent this at planting, what you do is once you have the plants planted, you want to sprinkle whole grain cornmeal around each plant. So just a nice little sprinkling, maybe like a half of a handful of it around each plant, and then You could water them in. That helps with the early blight. And we use whole grain cornmeal. I think a pound of it costs us like $1 or something.
Yeah, you got it at the local grocery store.
Yeah, if I'm at the grocery store, if it doesn't have your local grocery store, if you have like a local natural food store, you could probably find it there, but try your local grocery store first.
And it's something about the whole grain cornmeal that keeps the blight in the ground. Mm-hmm. And that's the whole key, keeping the plant healthy so it can grow better and produce fruit instead of ridding off diseases.
So those are some things you do in planting. Now, sometimes you get things such as spider mites. So what you want to do is to take liquid seaweed and you mix 1 gallon of water with 2 tablespoons of liquid seaweed and spray it every 2 to 3 weeks throughout the growing season. It does not kill the spider mites, it toughens the leaves, and the mites move on and won't affect the plant.
And we did this last year as a preliminary measure before we even had spider mites. Now, we don't typically have spider mites, at least that we're aware of, but I went ahead and took the Hudson sprayer and filled it up with the adequate measurement of liquid seaweed and coated all the tomato plants that we had. And it really made the leaves greener and darker in color as well. Mm-hmm. So that is a preliminary caution that you can do prior to even having the possibility of having spider mites, is fixing the problem before the problem exists.
Another option for that is to take 1 tablespoon of molasses, and you can add that to the mix because molasses will stimulate the good bacteria.
So that's another way to prevent spider mites. And also, when watering these tomato plants, you want to water at the base. And, obviously when it rains outside, it's going to splash dirt up on the leaves. But we as gardeners want to prevent that as much as we can by watering at the base, because 90% of the diseases your plant will experience, your tomato plant, is going to be from the dirt splashing up on the leaves. And, we want to avoid that as much as possible.
So those are the main steps there, how to grow the best tomatoes naturally and cheaply. Again, we do everything 100% organic, so this is what we would recommend for you. And obviously you want to make sure you water, and you want to make sure you watch out for those other pests.
So again, if you want a list of what we've went over, we have it typed up on our website, the WisconsinVegetableGardener.com. Go to the main page. On the right-hand side, scroll down, you'll see how to grow the best tomatoes. Open it up, scroll down, you'll see a listing of what we've spoke about, and you can share this with all your tomato growing friends and family. And again, Bob Webster, he's been growing for many years. And his methods are trusted and very reliable. We did it last year and saw the results that we had never seen before with the success of his advice. And even though last year was a very poor year, because we took these steps, I feel that we got double the tomatoes that we would have had if we didn't follow them.
And we also had tomatoes well into late fall. I know that was nice to have those tomatoes until I think it was like November.
Yeah, November. We had November tomatoes. Now there's some different techniques that we're going to do here in Wisconsin to try to have Christmas tomatoes. We've got some techniques that we're going to exercise, and you can follow that on the video series as well.
So there you have it. That is our advice on how to grow the best tomatoes.
And we want to thank Bob Webster for sharing this information to the YouTube community and allowing us all to be better gardeners. And that's the whole key to the YouTube, to podcast, to information that we share. We share it for free because we want people to be able to grow their own food and grow it more successfully, and to share the knowledge that each other has experienced. I'm Joey Baird.
And I'm Holly Baird.
And this has been the Wisconsin Vegetable Gardener Extra Podcast, a 10-minute show for the gardener on the go, and has been brought to you in part by DollarSeed.com, WillowSprings.com, and by
ManureTea.com.
For more information and all our organic content, you can visit us on our website at the WisconsinVegetableGardener.com.